Welcome everyone to the Emergent Essence Dynamics webinar number 7 on April 3rd, 2019. The theme of the webinar is Mapping the Creative Cycle, and we've got some wonderful people joining us from Europe and North America. Welcome everyone. Feel free to say hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Troy.
Hello. Well, right now we're pretty good. Nobody has background noise. If you do have some background noise, just mute yourself and unmute yourself at any time when you want to jump in with a question or a comment. I welcome you to be interactive, to jump in all the time. I'll sometimes ask you for some questions or I want your response. And the webinar is 60 minutes long, so we'll move quickly through a lot of information regarding how to work with the creative cycle. I'll get down to that right now. What are we discovering today on the webinar? By the way, just any quick comments on what attracted you to this webinar? Because we have webinars every month now, so always with a different theme. And yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I enjoy engaging with the creativity with my clients, and so learning more about how you see the creative cycle and how EED connects with it is something that very much resonates with me.
Excellent. Great. What else?
For me, it is the follow-up of the EED foundation course or training introduction we did this weekend in Frankfurt. Kerstin made me aware that there was this webinar, and she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I can't make it. Are you joining?" And said, "Okay, send me the link."
Excellent.
And I hope I will find some schedule to do the modules, because I found it really powerful and practical.
Yeah, we just did a 2-day version bent more towards, focused more on the leadership aspect of EED. And it was the first time we were offering that with a group of 12 women in Frankfurt. So it was called Form and Force of Female Leadership. And it brought in aspects of Module 1, more on the relationship dynamic level and on the personal growth level and who you are as a leader, and reconciling all our different polarities and energies within ourselves, particularly between using power and using your heart, and reconciling the two together. So they got lots of exposure to how we work with relationship dynamics. What you're gonna get this time, Shadia, is the actual EED model of how to put everything that you learned during the leadership course into regular dialogue. And what we're doing here is showing you how you can build creative impulses into their fullest expression. Okay, I was modeling and demoing that with you guys when you're working in your relationship exercises, but you didn't quite know how I was doing it. Now you're going to get an idea how I was doing that, taking each little impulse and building it, and building tension and releasing tension. Okay.
Thank you, Troy.
Great. So you'll get a little more of the technicalities behind EED. Okay. And that was a great course. And so I'm thinking, well, I think we should offer something like that more often. It's a great introduction into Module 1. So what are we discovering today? We're getting an overview of the creative cycle and how that applies to transformative work, whether that is coaching or leadership or mediation, or even just your own personal growth and development, okay? We're also looking at how to apply that creative cycle into learning processes, development processes, design processes, also personal mastery and performance, right? So that's applicable to artists and managers and anyone who's performance oriented. This applies across the board. Also, giving you some tips for how to integrate resistance with creativity because resistance goes part and parcel with the creative process. Without friction, we do not have creativity, okay? And yet, everyone has a different relationship with resistance, and many people wish resistance was not there, but I'm going to show you how resistance has a definite function in the creative cycle, when to use it, when to neutralize it, okay? That's very important. A quick, now all of you are familiar with EED, but for the recording, for those listening to the recording, I'm going to do just a brief overview of what is EED. But even so, when you hear it again, it might bring in some more insights. So EED is a holistic approach to development, and transformation. It's fractal based, meaning everything is based upon small repeating patterns on the big and the small levels. So for example, relationships function in small repeating patterns. Our creativity, our creative processes, our personal transformation, all function on fractal based patterns. So when you can identify the base pattern at work, it already starts to shift and solve multiple issues going on in the person or the relationship. So we are pinpointing the most fundamental dynamic driving human dynamics, whether that's relationship with yourself internally or externally in conflict with others, or just pure relationship with others. EED is designed to get beyond story and narrative and into those fundamental levels that drive our behaviors. The purpose is not primarily for transformation. Where we go first is to restore resilience and well-being and autonomy in a person. And then from that point, natural transformation occurs because the consciousness is opening and it's being released from reactivity, fear, and most resistance. Any resistance left over is used to promote more creativity and productivity. The whole point here is because we're neutralizing fear and reactivity and opening up the autonomy and well-being of a person, we're actually reconciling the personality with the core essence of the person, meaning identity with their more permanent, timeless self or infinite awareness. So this is a way of reconciling ego and essence together, which gives the person a more expanded state of awareness, an expanded sense of existence. It gives them a liberation from their fear and reactivity, where then nothing is taboo. And the result of that is they're far more courageous and creative in every action they take on. So if we're not really working with transformation, primarily what we're really doing is working with alchemy or transmutation. We're taking what's already here and we're rearranging it into its most pure form, purest expression, and that becomes a transmutation of the person. So they're becoming their best self as a more pure expression of their essence, as opposed to a distorted self that was disconnected from essence. Okay, so the whole process is reconnecting to essence and then reconstructing ourselves according to our original essence. And this applies to coaching, leadership, mediation, facilitation, healing, and much, much more, even to sales and creative performance. So here we're going to focus on the creativity. Any questions, comments from that? That's a lot of information. Yeah, Jim. Yeah.
Just a quick question for my own understanding. Point 2, the most fundamental level driving human dynamics. That's what you talk about, source, right?
It's actually the expression of source. How do we express ourselves from our source level? Because if we were at source, we wouldn't do or create anything. We would just sit around being infinite potential. So we need to interact with each other. Even though we are all from the same source, we are different, unique aspects of this source. And we're expressing ourselves in relationship with everything, and that creates rich dynamics in the way we interact. So we're looking at what are those fundamental patterns in the way we interact. That's what I mean.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's look at the creative cycle. So the creative cycle comes in 4 phases, all right? The first phase is you have an idea. It's a creative impulse. That's a sourced inspiration. It's a seed idea. It's just the beginning spark of something. Okay. Oh, I have an idea for a business. That's it. It's just the idea comes in. Okay. Then we take that idea and we start to expand it. This is the design phase. We're brainstorming on the idea, creating vision, creating a whole blueprint of what this might look like. That's along with some strategy work. So I have an idea for a house. Now I need to draw up the blueprints of the house. Okay, it's just still in more this. It's not nothing physical yet. The only physical thing is drawing out the blueprints. It's just putting a little bit more form to the idea. Does that make sense? Okay. Third phase is the construction phase. Let's go build that house according to the blueprints. So this is a process of action. There are, in this process, there are challenges. In this process, we are practicing and calibrating, and and improving and reassessing. Okay, so because as you build, you keep refining your strategy. You may even refine your vision as you see it start to slowly take shape and form. Okay. So this is a growth process based upon action and practice calibration. Okay. Then the fourth phase is the final product, the full expression of the idea. So it could be, there's the house on display and it's all decorated and we can move through the house and live in the house, all right, and enjoy our time in the house. So we are harvesting all the benefits of the idea and taking back into ourselves the reward. We don't just build the house and burn it down, right? So, I mean, you're building the house for a purpose. Now you're using it, okay, as a full product. Same with, in art, it's the finished painting or it's the staged performance, okay? This is no longer rehearsal. The third phase is the rehearsal phase, okay? Fourth phase is the final performance, and you receive the applause and you receive the awards, okay? Any questions there? It's pretty basic, but I want to delineate clearly what we're doing in these 4 phases, yeah? Okay, idea, design, construction, final product or full expression. Okay. Now there's another way to look at the creative cycle as a moving cycle that repeats and repeats. I mean, this does repeat. So we can look at it as the creativity. I thought I misspelled creativity. As the 4 seasons, all right? So first you have spring. This is where we plant seeds. And this is so, we're generating ideas. We're even loosening the soil and preparing the soil, okay? We're preparing a foundation for ideas to grow. But we've got to prepare the soil. We're planting the seeds. The seeds are germinating. They're activating. There's a fresh energy. And this is where we set our intentions, okay? We've got our ideas and we set our intentions, all right? So then next comes summer, and this is where we're cultivating our garden. This is where everything is growing, it's receiving sunlight, we nurture it, we pull out the weeds, we prune the plants. This is a season of activity and growth, all right? Then we're in a phase of, we have the fruits have ripened, the garden is full. We need to now harvest it, and we need to eat the fruits of our labor. And this is very, very, very important. Again, why would you build a house to just burn it down? Why would you grow a garden just to burn the crop? Okay? But I will tell you, many people will spend all this energy building the garden, and then they just either burn the crop or they give away the fruits, okay? They don't use it. So what's very important with the creative cycle is that for whatever we're producing, we need to take it back in to benefit from it. Take it back into our well-being, because otherwise we send energy, creating. If we don't take something back in, we exhaust ourselves, and this is what causes burnout. Either by, what a lot of people will do is, as soon as they've harvested the fruits, they don't even eat it, they go right back to spring and they plant seeds for the next garden. I know many artists like this. As soon as they get off stage from the final performance, they say, well, that was that, on to the next thing, and they're immediately, planning and rehearsing their next play or performance. And they didn't even hear the applause, and they start criticizing themselves, and they say, well, I could do better at this. And there's just no reaping of the benefits. So the autumn phase is extremely important, that you've got your polished product here. It's there to share, and it's there to celebrate, okay? And it's there to reinforce your well-being, right? Final phase is winter, and a lot of people don't understand this phase. What happens after the performance? What happens after you've sold the company? What happens after any of your creative pursuits? It's a period of hibernation. This is where you need to rest and reflect, not criticize. But I mean, here you can work through the critiques, but you also need to, after you do the critiques, after you've reaped the rewards, after a full stomach. Do you understand? This is where then you regenerate and you relax. This is where you actually do not create. There's a reason why in the Bible, in Genesis, it said, and on the seventh day, God took a rest, okay? He spent 6 days creating the world, and then seventh day was the seventh day of rest. It's time to breathe. So imagine you've been exhaling all this energy. You need to take a breath in so that you can then create the next cycle, okay? Again, people don't pay attention to this. They, especially overachievers and performers, they will not take a win.
I agree.
Yes.
The 2 days, I was not ill just like the colleagues after the weekends, but on Mondays, I was drained. I was so dead. I got no rest because it was pretty intensive this weekend.
Yeah.
I was really just like a zombie.
Yeah.
I had to go early, and then I slept 12 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I did this the Monday. I said, I can't do anything today. I just traveled back, and then I slept too. Yeah, you don't realize how exhausted you can be after a big activity. And a lot of people will criticize themselves. No, I can't take a break. No, I can't rest. No, I can't take a vacation because I would be lazy if I did that, and unproductive. They don't realize that a period of hibernation where you are actively resting and reflecting and letting yourself regenerate and relax, that is actually being being productive, because you're resetting the stage for a new creation. What happens to the garden during the winter? Well, also in the autumn, there's lots of, the dead stuff. You let it recycle back into the soil. So if you think from your performance, take all your criticisms, let them go into the back of your mind and let them reflect, okay? Like the dead droppings, like the dead leaves, and let it bring you more nutrients. Instead of the criticism bringing you more tension and fear, let the criticisms simmer, okay? So you need to reset the soil so it can, because it got drained of all these nutrients, okay? if you go from autumn to spring, you could create the next thing, but after a few years, that soil is going to be so stripped, it won't grow anything. And again, that's what's contributing to burnout. So no rest or hibernation. Is this clear what I mean by winter season? Okay. And I'm really stressing this because we tend to skip it over. Okay. So here's what they look like together. You have an idea. In between idea and design, that's your spring season. You've got lots of fresh energy, right? You're designing, creating, you're brainstorming, lots of possibilities. This feels like the honeymoon, okay? Then when we move from design and into the actual construction, that's your summer season. Now here's where you're going to hit obstacles and resistance. You're going to feel some fears. Things are going to fail and succeed, fail and succeed. It's like the rehearsal period of the play, okay? It's not perfect. So you have to revisit your design, go back to your construction, revisit your design, go back to your construction, okay? So for some people, they start getting discouraged here. And they want that honeymoon phase when they just had all those fresh ideas. And so even here, they might kill the project. So this is where resilience is incredibly important, okay? And in fact, even during this phase, it's like a little mini cycle of idea, design, construction, product. Like each day you get an idea of what am I going to work on today? Let me strategize that. Let me do it. Let me win the rewards from it, whether I failed or succeeded. Let me reflect, okay? So this is a mini cycle within the large cycle. This is why I say it's fractal based. Each day you're going through these seasons and cycles, okay? Then from construction to product, this is where you're polishing, and this is where you're performing. This is where you're enjoying the successes, the rewards, okay? You're even making critiques, putting them aside, all right? But this is a polishing process, okay? Then you've got to take that winter. Don't start rushing into the next idea. Let the product, run its course. Let it die down. Let yourself rest. And then new ideas will naturally spring forth the next season. Okay. Any questions, comments here on when you see this all put together? These two concepts. Insights.
Pretty clear.
Yeah, pretty clear.
It's pretty clear, Troy.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Great. Now, does anyone have a question why it's moving counterclockwise? Yes.
I just assume that you go backwards, Troy.
I thought it's because you are a left-hand writer.
Okay, so imagine this. Imagine you are unscrewing a light bulb, or you're going to turn on the water with a tap that you have to unscrew. So which way are you moving? Which way are you turning it?
Left to loosen.
Yeah, counterclockwise. It's a counterclockwise movement because you are opening something.
Mm-hmm.
So I've chosen on purpose that we move counterclockwise through these cycles. It's not like moving through time, forward through time. Yeah. No, this is an opening, an expansion, 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 expansion to the fullest idea. That's what we mean by the creative cycle here, okay? Building impulses into their fullest expression. So some people get confused because they're oriented to look at clockwise. And for me, and in natural cycles, that's a closing down process, a tightening, okay? All right. Now, we've mapped that creative cycle onto the model. So we have three patterns that go on when we work in dialogue with people. In the previous webinar, we talked about these inner loops, about action and response. And Shadia, this is what we were doing in repetitions, the action response. And I showed you guys this. Mm-hmm. And this is our focus. We're focusing on a person's awareness plus their experience. Mm-hmm. So they're having a balanced experience full alignment within themselves. But as we do action and response, what happens is we're creating little sparks, new ideas that we need to connect to and expand those impulses to find out actually what they are and voice what they contain, okay? And pull out the wisdom so that then they can own, embody, anchor, and apply those impulses. So the EED model, whether we're working with dynamics or creative process or ideas or building a coaching or leadership, anything, everything is based upon impulses at the moment. And you are directing the moment, each moment, to build the impulse, okay? So we work in two directions around this loop. This is an exact replica of the creative cycle. You know, idea, design, construct, and full product or full expression. And we can work in two directions. One, we can build the impulse into active energy. Wasn't that cool, that little ball going around? Let's see it again. Wow. Okay. So in every moment, a person has an impulse, an urge, or there's a start of something. We capture it and we build it up, okay, into its fullest expression before we send them into action, because that'll build resonance and lots of inspirations like, oh my God, I'm so inspired I could conquer the world. Before we do that, we actually work backwards through the cycle so that we can plug that active energy back into their own source or essence, and that's what creates a foundation of resilience, all right? I'm not gonna talk about working backwards through the loop in this webinar. I really wanna do the forwards momentum, because then once it's plugged into essence or source, now we take them into action. And this would be now where we could do, what is the idea, what are the possibilities, what's the vision, what's the strategy, and what exactly will you do, okay? So we're moving back and forth, building impulses up, back to source, and then into creative action, okay? So that's what this model looks like as it applies to any application, coaching, leadership, even mediation. Any questions so far here? Because then I'll break down the 4 phases.
So we had 4 phases of the creative cycle, from idea to product.
Yeah.
And now you mentioned we're going through this loop 3 times.
Well,
1 times counterclockwise, 1 times, or like I'm showing it the other way on this camera anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
3 times through the loop for 4 different steps. Does this map somehow, like in the first time going around, we're having the idea phase, and second
what
the
I'm
design?
talking about here is at first, the way EED works with the creative cycle is first we use impulses into active energy. That doesn't mean we're doing anything yet, okay?
Yeah.
And there is a creative stage from impulse to full expression of energy, okay?
Yeah.
Then before we want to take the energy further and now start actually moving it into a creation process, we first want to plug it in.
Okay.
Good, you're clarifying that.
And the creation process then involves like finding an idea to work on, for example.
Right.
All right.
I'm going to talk about this phase, build the resilience into action. This is now the manifesting of something, okay?
What stage of the creative cycle would that be, manifesting something?
It's all the creative cycle. It's looking at it in 3 different ways, okay? That's okay?
Okay.
And I'm just going to actually focus on this. How do we build resilient energy into action, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is really what most coaches are doing, this 3rd phase, okay? Meaning there's a new impulse, a new idea, or there's a shift in the client, or in EED, there's a new cycle, okay? This can be, oh, I'm inspired by something, right? And then the coach says, okay, well, what are you gonna do? And they're rushing all the way over to embodiment, and EED is saying, no, 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 there's a few other phases to go through first. Okay. So when there's a new idea, first, or a shift in the client, first we want to connect with it. We don't even name it. We don't even know what it is, okay? So this could show up as a new insight, a new idea, or an impulse, meaning like an excited energy or an angry energy or something. We just want them to create relationship with it, get to know it, okay? We want to create a 5-sense experience in how they're relating to it. They don't need to know exactly what it is yet. They need to be in strong connection with it. So we want to feed and strengthen their connection with it through their awareness and through their enjoyment of the experience, okay? So this already creates key questions to ask. What would be a key question for Spark as examples?
How do you do?
That's a trigger. I'm saying when there's a spark from the other person, from the client that we're working with.
I might ask, I see you light up. What are you connected to right now, or what are you feeling right now?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a new shift or a new impulse, right? Okay. Even if you say, hey, what's a value you have? Or like with Paul, I mean, that's a trigger question. Or like with Paul says, how do you do? That's a trigger question that then would produce a spark. So what we're saying is, when you're saying, how do you do? Or what's a value you have? That's more what we consider action. What we want then is the response, because that's where the spark's going to come from. Oh, I have a value of integrity, or I have a value of chocolate, or whatever, or I have a value of sensuality. Okay, that's now the new shift, new idea, new spark, okay? When you say, how do you do? Oh, I'm not doing so well. I'm kind of shitty. That's a spark, right? We want to connect with it. What's it like to feel so shitty? What's it like when you connect with this value of chocolate or integrity or sensuality? What does it give you? What are you enjoying in just connecting with it? We're not doing anything with it yet, okay? You're strengthening their connection, okay? This is very important because a lot of coaches then try to jump to voice, which is, well, what are you learning here? Or what's possible? You know, what's the strength you're using? Or so
Troy, is what are you looking for? Or what are you longing? Too deep?
That's a good trigger question. Okay. Now, if once you've sparked and connected, what are you longing for here is part of the voice section, because they're starting to unpack what this thing contains, okay? When you're connected with this value of sensuality, and we've strengthened that connection, and they know what it feels like and what it brings them, now what's your desire from that value? What does this long for? That's real, like the voice is the biggest phase of unpacking what something contains, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Otherwise, if you want to get complicated here, what are you longing for, just as a general question, is a good trigger question to create a spark, okay? So I want to really differentiate here. What are trigger questions and what are voice-oriented questions? Voice means you're already connected to something. Now you want to dig in and see what it contains. That's what we mean by voice. You want to voice the discovery, voice the learning, voice the resources available, voice the possibilities, okay? And this becomes an expansion and integration process, okay? Final phase then is embody. This is the full expression of what we've got. This is where here we can take action. We can anchor what that we've expanded and pulled apart. Now it's integrated and anchored. Now they take ownership of what this contains. It's theirs. It's not external to them. This is also then, if they want to start applying or using it, we can test it right there in the session to see how strong it is or not. And then if it's not so strong, we rebuild it. We go back around and rebuild until it has strength and integrity of whatever came out of that impulse. So we want to build impulses into something concrete, tangible, and active. That's the 4 phases of the embodiment loop. How are you guys doing with this information?
Troy, the information's great. I just have a bunch of like really technical questions.
Yes.
Is now a good time to ask, or would it be later?
No, you can ask now.
So I'm really curious about the connect section, because I'm seeing some room for growth in my coaching there.
Yeah.
First off, I've had a bunch of clients where when I'm trying to get them to connect to the emotions, the feelings, like what's going on in your body out as a result of the spark. So I'm not at the embodiment yet. I'm still trying to make that relationship, but there are kind of something's resisting there.
Okay.
How might I play with that resistance?
Excellent. Do you want me to do a short demo with you?
Sure.
Okay. Can I use you as client then?
I'd be happy
Then
to.
you can experience it on the client end. Okay.
Perfect.
Just bring anything or something to the table. And for those listening, watching, see how I'm moving around the loop. I'll also be transparent which phase I'm in.
Perfect.
And you can note the kinds of questions I ask. Okay, so what's the first, what's now coming into mind here? Just any topic or whatever is even what you're resisting in yourself now.
Oh, that's a fun one. What am I'm resisting trying to get too technical and trying to deconstruct this too much and trying to just trust that I'm going to learn what I need to learn.
Okay, so you want to trust it and you're resisting to trust it. Okay.
Yes.
So those are 2 sparks I could actually work with either way. Which one's more compelling for you? I'm going to let you.
I'm interested in the resistance. So
Great.
Just see how you play with that.
Let's go with the resistance of it. All right. So even as you were moving, what's it like to already connect with that energy of resistance? Just the pure feel of it.
Yeah. Well, the resistance is it's this. I kind of want to fight. I want to I got to make sense of this, and I've got to be active and engaged with it.
Okay. So even just what you were doing with your fists, I want to fight. I want to engage. Okay. There. What just made you smile a little bit as you connected with that energy, and move your fists again as you're getting.
Yeah, it's both aggressive, but there's also a bit of playfulness too, where it's like I know there's no harm going to come, but it's this challenge. It's like testing myself, testing someone else.
Okay, now take away the associations and the story around it, and just get into the pure energy and sensation of moving your fists. Notice how your heart pounds, how your body moves. Notice how your head is moving there. What already is coming up for you in just pure sensations?
Yeah, and well, I mean, in just pure sensations, there's this tension, there's this this aggression, there is the joy as well.
Joy. Okay, let's focus there. So what are you enjoying in this energy? What are the effects of this energy on you as you move?
It feels strong.
Strong.
It feels powerful.
Powerful. Powerful in what way? What kind of power is it giving to you?
I'm able to be active. I'm not helpless. I'm not weak. I have something that I can respond to.
Okay. So look how long we've already spent into the connection phase, right? And you're gradually now moving into voice because you're starting to discover deeper layers of what this is. You're now saying, like you were saying, joy, but now you're saying that there's power in it. There's some strength. So what kind of strength is this giving you? What kind of power are you coming in contact with?
Well, I'm coming in contact with my own internal power,
Okay.
my own internal strength. This is not external. I'm not relying on anyone else.
What is it like to know that you've got an internal strength that's available at any time?
It's encouraging. It's exciting.
Okay, and what does that then bring to your own self or to your own awareness? What does it give you?
Well, it gives me a sense of knowledge that I can handle a challenge. I can handle a difficulty. I can handle resistance.
What is it like to know that? What does that do to your sense of self?
Well, it makes me proud. Like back wants to sit stronger. I want to feel like shoulders are back, opening chest, where it's like, yeah, this is.
Okay. So allow that posture to take on. Allow your back to take on that form. Allow your shoulders to relax all around this. And what are you already integrating into yourself? Like what is becoming your own here? There. That would you smile there?
I'm struggling to put it into words. It's a deeper sense of self-awareness.
Okay. And just to be okay with that whole thing, even if there's no words for it, how does that feed back to your own well-being and your own sense of survival or resilience?
Well, it feeds directly to a number of specific challenges that I have been struggling with, where I have not felt connected to that energy. And so now that energy can contribute to those.
Okay. So now we're moving already almost into embody phase, right? You notice he's shifting his posture. He's starting to integrate it, right, into his own body. So now, what would you call this particular energy that you're experiencing now, or this state of being?
The fighter.
The fighter, okay. And right now, what are you enjoying in the fighter?
I'm enjoying that sense of power, that and also the willingness to engage a challenge, to get a punch in the face and know, I'll be okay. I can respond to that.
So let's just look at it as this is a fighter, has a strong energy, a willingness to engage. What is useful about that for you? Just that pure energy of willingness to engage.
Yeah, it's a resilient energy. It is it takes action. So it does not look at difficulty as a deflating experience.
Okay.
It's something to get back up from.
Okay. Now, how do you feel about yourself when you are that fighter that can get back up and nothing is an obstacle here?
Yeah, I feel so much more grounded and just feel more fulfilled.
Okay. So enjoy the fulfillment and notice now what the groundedness does for you, what it brings back to you. Now, if you could just name for me, what are the key characteristics of this experience? Like if you could rebuild this body, this is an anchoring technique, okay? What are the key characteristics in your posture, your emotions, your mentality?
So, strong back, open heart, strong legs, and I kind of like the hands just need to be loose. Okay. There needs to be, whether it's playing piano or playing playing drums, like there needs to be some sort of, there's a dynamic as well as a stable, strong base.
Okay, so if you imagine all of that energy moving outward and moving, okay, now pause that and play it backwards and find where's the whole source of that. This is another anchoring technique. So it's a quick trigger. Where does it seem to source from?
My lower spine.
Great. So that's your spot, right? And then all the energy kind of radiates out from there, and it keeps your hands loose. It straightens your spine, opens the heart. Okay, now you got that? Yeah. I'm going to do one more thing in this embodiment phase. I'm going to just test and apply. Okay? So now I'm going to throw some confusion your way. I'm going to throw some high technical stuff at you that goes over your head. I'm going to be a resistant client that can't connect. Okay, how are you responding to any of those words I'm throwing at you? when you're focused on that spot in the back of your spine and then the fighter energy? What's going on?
It feels funny to me. Like I want to laugh because
Okay.
it's like, bring it on, bring it on.
What is it like to just have that experience of I want to laugh? What's it like to know that?
It is deeply encouraging. So rather than me responding in anger or frustration or responding in habitual patterns,
Okay.
it's okay, this is what it is. I'm able to accept what it is, and then feel connected to my own creativity that I will work with what is here. How might we still connect to a new spark in what is happening at this moment?
Awesome. Last question then. What are your ideas on how to maintain connection despite resistance, or even how to use resistance to maintain connection?
Yeah, well, it's for me, I connect through my body. There's a deep a deep sense there. The invitation for me to learn how other people who don't connect to their body, how do they get connected to their source? What are their feelings? And so there's I'm going to take some learning away to connect with some friends who I know this is not a relevant, they don't experience things the way I do, to get curious about them and stay in that curiosity of like, how might I learn what is the way that they connect to it?
So willingness to learn from them, learn their language, learn their experience. Okay.
And willingness to be curious and open to say, yeah, they have a different experience. Great. How might I be sensitive to that?
Okay. And what if they say, I'm not connected to my body. I'm just a mental, cerebral person.
Yep. Cool. Absolutely. So let's connect to that logic. Let's connect to that intelligence. Let's see how you use that to create in the world.
Great. So, and what you're bringing out is a very important learning point, that we can mistake the connection phase to be a lot about experience, but there is awareness that goes on. And for head-oriented people that are very cerebral, there still are sensations that happen in their head. You understand? And they do have sensations in their body. I didn't make it an emotional experience for you. I made it more about physical sensations, energies, and thoughts. So I rarely actually bring in emotions. If the emotion is strong, I still want the energy underneath the emotion. And then I'd like thoughts that go with the emotion. So I took you around the loop. Okay, brief on spark, a little longer on connect, a lot more time on voice, and then didn't take long to anchor it, but I spent a little extra time just testing and applying, right? And you saw how you designed your own actions. I didn't do anything for you, right?
Yep.
And then I circled it right back around to your original question. So what else? I feel resistance in this connection phase. So, and you're different now, right? That's just a quick demonstration of how we can move around that loop, okay? And by the way, I'm coming to how do we incorporate resistance, but this is a good example. Does anybody have any comments on how you were seeing me use the loop there?
I don't know. When I saw all the experience with the fighting, and so I almost was not able to breathe.
Mm-hmm. And you know what?
I don't know.
A lot of people act like that, but that's very normal, Shadia. For example, many coaches or even leaders, they just back away from resistance or what they'll call negative energies. And what I was doing with him was I was having him connect with the pure experience of the fighter, not with his judgments about the fighter. He has a fighting kind of energy, and he's saying it's aggressive. Well, that's in his opinion. It may, and then it could go further. Well, maybe that's destructive. Maybe it's angry. Maybe I shouldn't be angry. What I want is him to get in the pure sensation of the experience and the enjoyment of the experience. When there is just a pure enjoyment without any story attached, Then he's getting more into the essence of the connection. And then he can really find out what really are the strengths and resources here. If he's only connecting through judgment, he's going to voice through judgment. So the connect phase is a way to strip away any judgments of what he's connecting with. That's very important. So if somebody gets angry, but so fine, they're angry. What is the pure sensation of the anger, even just on the physical level? And then what are they enjoying in it? And they start to purify the experience. What were you going to say, Shadia?
Thank you, Jim, for providing an example, and thank you, Troy, for clarifying.
Yes.
The key word is without judgment and without story attached.
Yeah. So you're walking them through a process of gradual acceptance. And for me as the practitioner, I need to let them have those judgments. I can't judge it back. I can't say, well, a fighter's not always aggressive, Jim. I mean, I'm just going to create more resistance, right? I say, yeah, okay, fine. So he's aggressive. And what do you enjoy in the aggression? Right? What's the sensation? Again, if you bring it to a physical level, he'll say, well, I'm moving faster. I have a clearer focus. I'm alert. My heart's pumping. That has nothing to do with aggression. That is just a physical response. Do you understand? So we're stripping away layers of judgment in the connection phase. Okay. So this embodiment loop can also apply on a larger scale to an entire session. I'll just go through this quickly, but so like Spark, here is the foundation of a session. This is where you can clarify the topic, the focus, build a little baseline resilience with the client, and have them invest in what they're going to explore in relation to that topic. This is great for coaches. A lot of coaches just say, what's our topic today? And then they go right into exploration where the client doesn't have a lot of investment in what they're doing or a lot of resilience, which just creates more resistance throughout the whole session, okay? So if we spend a little time, like what you're really doing is you're planting seeds for a successful session. The 3 ingredients are clarify your focus, get some resilience in there, and have them invested so that they are entering the session with desire and will to grow. Okay? In our exploration session, this is where we can confront fears, play out different patterns, toggle between different beliefs, whether they're negative or positive, it doesn't matter. You let the client fully explore themselves, okay? And then that's related to connect. And then in the integration portion of a session, this is where now you start to make the client make choices. They narrow down some possibilities. They narrow down what patterns they choose, what beliefs they choose to integrate into themselves. So it's like, this is where you got to prune the garden and take out the weeds, okay? Here in the exploration phase, lots of weeds and plants are growing together. And then integration is more about a selection process. Now that the client has explored everything available in the garden, what are they going to really narrow down for themselves to become? Okay? And in the final phase, the embodiment phase, this is where you are now taking your client into action. This is where, like what I did with Jim. Okay, what will you do? How will you apply these new strengths, new beliefs? Let's test them out to see if they have really taken root. Okay. Now, if that was an hour session, maybe you spend 15 minutes in each phase. 15 minutes to create a good foundation session, and then 15 and 15 for exploration and integration. And then a final 15 minutes just to nail down, now what are they going to do? And that's a great way to divide your time as a coach or a leader. You could do this with workshop design, right? Even if it's a 2 or 3 day format, and you walk your group through these phases. It's logical, okay? Regarding resistance. So here's another way to look at the cycle. Creation is about tension and relaxation, or charge and discharge, a building up of energy and then a release of energy. And this is what I was even doing with Jim. he comes in with a question. How do I deal with resistance that's already creating tension? That's the spark phase. So I want him to connect to that. And I want to charge him up, charge up his energy. Okay? Then when he moves into voice, here's where he's getting insights, learning, discovery. So he starts releasing energy. He starts letting go of that inner resistance, and it's being replaced by more of a resilience. And then he starts to really enter his body in a new way, rebuild it. And this is where we get the relaxation phase, where now it's fully integrated and he's ready to take some action. Then we can start a new phase. I started to test him. Oh, what if there's trouble and confusion? I'm going to build that tension, charge it up, let him find himself. It discharges and there's relaxation. This is how music works. Okay? Music might start with the theme, but then we start to mess up the theme. We build that up, it reaches a climax, and then it relaxes again. That's like consonance and dissonance. We introduce dissonance, meaning tension and charging things up, in order to have resolution. Okay, that's how cadences work in music. So this again is this is our primal cycle of energy and resistance. So we do want some resistance to build up the tension and charge things up. With a foundation of resilience, we're able to release it and then come back into relaxation and recharge or rebuild resilience in order to introduce new tensions. Through tension and release, that's another way of building resilience. So that's a useful way. Introduce friction in order to test the resilience of somebody. But you need the foundation of resilience first to do that.
That's really interesting, because I think just like when you have tension in your body,
yeah,
and if you do not connect to it, you live with it, and the whole day you feel shitty. But I think if you use this will, okay, I do not feel okay, where? And then I try to name it. Okay, what I will do with it, and next. It's quite interesting how you can help yourself with this way.
So yeah, a lot of times, so I got a headache, I got some tension. Oh, I went up and just release it. I'm moving backwards through the cycle, you see? No, I've got a headache, name it, connect with it. What does this pain feel like? What is the sensation? Where is it exactly, right? How am I feeling? Then once it's recognized, it will start to discharge. You can ask the pain, what's the message you have for me? Get it to voice, right? Pain alert system, okay? And then there's a shift in yourself and it begins to relax and release, okay? Otherwise, we either get tension and say relax, or we get tension and try to discharge it. But we avoid the charging up phase, right? This is a way to relate with pain, right?
And I connect it as well to my work in project when there is change in the.
That's right.
In the environment, and the people start to freak out, and.
So allow
and
them.
Yeah.
Right? Like I allowed Jim to connect with the fighter energy. He wasn't sure if he liked it or didn't like it. He was toggling, right, between. Just like what I showed in the exploration phase, right? Where, this is where they toggle between beliefs. But by the time he was getting into voice, he was more clarified of how useful it was for him. Right? And I was leaning him towards the resilient side, right? And then he could embody the resilience of it. So same thing with pain, tension, resistance in the room. Allow it, and then when it's charged enough, and it will discharge, and then you can focus on the resilience of the room, the resilience of the team. But if you don't allow the charge, you won't have a discharge. And then what happens is this just happens underneath, and this is what creates resentment in the team, right? Because they're not allowed to voice, like voicing is it's a release, right? So it takes resilience from the leader to allow that to happen. Now, here's how they work together. So for whether it's a coaching session, a mediation session, or even a leadership session, like leading a workshop, like I did with you guys in Frankfurt, during the foundation and exploration phase, this is where there's a lot of learning happening, a lot of discovery. There's a lot of resistance happening here. So it takes a lot more energy from the leader or the coach or the mediator to take the client through the session. So it feels like an uphill battle, okay? Because there's tension and things are charging up. But then there's this point where the balance of power switches, and now the client starts to take over as they discharge energy and they start to integrate. And the leader or the coach or the mediator actually is doing less and less. And it feels like a downhill free ride for the leader, coach, or mediator as the group and the client starts to relax into the application phase, okay, where things are more integrated. So for example, with you, Shadia, for me as a leader, that day one, you know, by the end of the day, you know, I'm experiencing myself a lot of tension because the whole group is charged up with a lot of new learnings and some confusion. They have a good sleep overnight, they start to discharge and everything starts to clarify, right? And then I'm working less and less, they're working more and more in unison and in harmony. And then we have a great end to the day, right? Where everything is now signed, sealed, and delivered, basically, right? So
Yeah.
coaches, it's good to know that around the middle of your session, that's where you're going to experience the most sort of resistance and turbulence. If you stay with it and keep focused on the resilience of the client, they will cross this line as they start to naturally integrate. So it's natural for the first half of your session to feel like it's harder work, okay? And then it starts to release. Now, and you might get mini cycles of this. I'm saying in the grand architecture, every session, this is what happens. And same with your own personal development process, okay? You know, I'm a little over time. We started slightly late, so I'm gonna wrap this up in about 5 minutes here, if you can stick around. If you need to leave, feel free to go. Any comments on this, or pretty clear? Okay.
Yeah.
So then this can also be applied to the learning process. This is where I'm pulling all these diagrams together into a learning process. And this is for your own personal mastery. So I've replaced the 4 phases of the embodiment loop with what's happening in a learning process. You know, when something sparks up, that's a new skill. I was unaware of it, and I'm unconscious. I feel incompetent with it. There's a new skill I don't know how to use. Okay, that's unconscious incompetence. So then we move into deconstruction, analysis of the skill. What is this skill? This is a studying phase. This is your springtime. You're still working things out on paper. Okay. And at this time, when you've identified a new skill and you want to analyze it, have compassion for yourself. Don't rush into having mastered it. It's a learning phase. This is more internal work. And this is where you must do this in a place of security. Don't go out and try to perform the new skill too soon, right? Have patience with yourself. So what demands the most patience from you is when you are practicing a new skill, and because you're highly, highly conscious of failing, fumbling, succeeding, and not quite getting there. You're moving from analysis into action, okay? You're taking action. I'm practicing my pieces. I'm stopping and starting. I'm learning it section by section. It's not a full performance yet, but you're reconstructing your knowledge of the skill based on your analysis, okay? And you're practicing. So appreciate every little progress you make and enjoy how you're practicing. This is your summer season, okay? Then there comes a time when you've practiced it enough, you've gained enough knowledge. Now you got to throw the book away and you got to perform, okay? You got to turn the webinar off. You've got to close the book and you just got to do it, right? So it's going to feel like you're taking a risk. It's going to be demanding on you. This is where this is more public. It's not private in your practice studio, and you are in an active phase. You're taking action. So this is where you're applying your active ability. So this is where you now let all the knowledge go to the back of your mind where it's unconscious, and let yourself simply be competent in what you're doing, okay? And you may go back and forth between a little bit of practice and performance. These are the final rehearsals. Then there comes a point where you're just really polished. It's natural, and you really truly are in an unconscious competence. It's a mastery. This is where you're in the creation phase, okay? And then at that point, let it go and just stop performing, stop practicing, and just let it sink in, okay? If this was a day of rehearsal and by the final hour of the rehearsal, you did a run through, okay, a mock performance, you're done. You got your notes, your critiques, now let it go and have a good night's sleep to just reflect. This is where, and this could feel risky because you think I have to keep practicing, have to keep analyzing. No, not yet. Let it go to the back of your mind. Be persistent with yourself, not to be active, but allow new learnings to come through. And then when you wake up in the morning, you realize, okay, here's some new things I got to work on. And you're back going around. So this is what we call our mastery model, okay? It takes patience and persistence, as well as for you to be compassionate and demanding of yourself, and to keep that all balanced. And underneath it all is a desire to learn, progress, and master. But this has nothing to do with how soon can you master it, okay? By following these 4 phases, you'll master something a lot faster because you're doing things in order. Study, practice, performance, and reflection, okay? How are you guys doing with this? This is how you can apply the creative cycle to your own personal development, mastery, and to your client's progress. Okay.
I cannot tell you now, but I'm really willing to apply this wheel. I am the one who is I have so much I want to learn.
Yes.
And obviously, then I want to do too much at once.
Exactly.
That's the problem, I think, from a lot of and I think, and I am putting pressure on myself because of the time.
Yeah.
And this will put a lot of things into perspective. Or the unconscious incompetence. I read some little book, and that was the cerveau de Buddha.
Yeah, the brain of the Buddha. Yeah, the mind of
the yeah, and obviously I started a lot of things that I didn't ended, and I suppose this will for sure help me also with the compassion and the patience.
Yes.
Yeah.
As the experience and fascination. So you realize, you have to learn, just accept it and become fascinated with what it is and what it is, rather than rushing to master it.
Exactly. Yeah.
You actually save time, especially when you do it in an environment of enjoyment and appreciation. Yeah. So this helps you break it down, right? Because a lot of people are on to learn, and we're trying to jump from new skill to active ability. And we're skipping the study and practice phases because we think it's not fun. But this can help you focus on extracting the most from each phase. And then you move through it faster. I've learned music this way. I've learned languages this way. I've learned every new thing I've learned this way. But this took 20 years for me to develop, okay, to really realize. And I studied myself as a concert pianist. Why was I not learning effectively? And even with my first 2-3 languages, why was I learning mistakes in the languages? And then once I started to really apply this, I had a much cleaner and faster learning. I saved myself a lot of time and agony. Oh boy, did I save myself. Yeah. So feel
Oh,
free,
yeah.
you know, you'll get the link for the recording. You know, feel free to do a screen capture of the model there for yourself, or you know, or ask me. I can send you a JPEG of it, and use that as a guide in anything that you do.
Yes.
So to just help wrap this up, we have another webinar coming up on May 8th, and this is called Resilience in Action. So this is increasing passion and willpower. It's developing actions with investment. So this will focus on that more embodiment phase, right? How do you build actions, okay? And that will get more specific there. And so that the actions are grounded in resilience and creativity. So that's next month. The registration is already open. If you go to eed-webinars-2019.eventbrite.com. If you want to learn how to practice and apply all these techniques and get lots more depth and application of this, we have the modules coming up in Munich this weekend, April 5th to 7th. And then again, it starts again in the fall. Module 1, September 13th to 15th in Munich, and in Paris, it's October 11th to 13th. And we also have our Reconciling Conflict course, prerequisite module 1, or we will also offer for those that can't come in April to Munich, we can offer a preparation day, which will give you everything you need to know to be able to do the Reconciling Conflict course. That would happen on May 16th. So the conflict course is May 17th to 19th. And so like what you learned, Shadia, like how to start getting relationships more fluid rather than fighting. This is the course. You learn how to facilitate that. It's really great for working with friends, relationship coaching, and just in your own personal life and personal development on how you can reconcile your own personal conflicts. So that's what's coming up. I wanted to thank you all for attending this webinar. And what are your final comments or insights? What have you gained from this webinar? What are you walking away with?
For me, definitively the wow effect was at the end, and the will. Also, I got a lot of wow effect on in regards of transformation in the organization. So I have something for the work and something for me out of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Shadia. Anyone else?
Compassion and patience. I'm learning Italian. So every day I go through a lot of fighting myself why I and how it is possible that after so many time I still cannot and I still can't and I still am not speaking, and yeah, so yeah, it's work in progress.
Add the enjoyment to your study and practice sessions with Italian.
Actually, I enjoy it very much.
Yeah.
Probably too much.
And even add in the appreciation and fascination with the sounds and how they feel, and you know, how the word impacts you. You know, that's how you can learn vocabulary and grammar really fast.
Yeah, yeah.
When you, instead of rushing to get to the result again. Yeah. I experienced the same thing with languages. I found Serbian quite difficult, and I couldn't remember it always. But then something's just, when I learned it emotionally, through positive emotion and enjoyment, suddenly these Serbian words come out from the back of my head. You know, and this was a few years ago I started to learn it. Like, oh yeah. And I would know the meaning of it. And then I'd have to struggle to find the English translation of it, but then I would find it. But I, you know, I really used this process with that language, and I didn't go far enough to gain fluency with it, but it really stuck. So yeah, use that mastery model with your languages.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Troy, I'll just offer first off, I'm walking away with such a better understanding of the EED model for how to walk a client through it. I thought I understood it, but I now have such a better clarity about the 4 stages and how to actually work with them.
Awesome.
And I love I'm going to call it the emotions that go with them, the recognition, acceptance, fascination, appreciation.
Yeah.
Like all of those emotions that you put with each of the 4 stages in the learning model.
Yeah.
I was like, well, that's really cool to recognize that in each of those stages there is an emotion to be connected with that helps you better ground yourself at that point. And that was really powerful.
Awesome. Excellent. Everything links together. Everything is interconnected with EED. That's why it's fractal. Yes. And holistic. Awesome.
I just pay attention to the infinity cycle on your logo right now.
Ah.
I just found it beautiful. I like the design. I just connected now.
Yeah.
I was able to reflect very well on a meeting that I facilitated today and getting new ideas on what I can do better next time. And also, like, there are lots of other theories like concerning product creation, and now I'm able to connect other things I've learned with EED, and I figured out that sometimes I mix things up. So for me, things in general are more clear about creating things, and using EED on it like fully.
Excellent. Excellent. Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining. And if you have any other questions, feel free to email me, info@essence-dynamics.com or troy@essence-dynamics.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube @EE Dynamics, and visit our website, essence-dynamics.com, to see when the upcoming courses are, read some testimonials, read more about the courses. And I hope to see you again on our next webinar or in the next course. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot,
Thank
Troy.
you very much.
Bye
Good
bye.
evening. Bye.
everyone, it was great to be with you.